Welcome back to 405 Sports. Today we are talking about the UFC, and really we just got three fights to get through here, and they are three major fights for the UFC. And we're going to get started off with UFC 295's co-main event in the light heavyweight division, where Jiri Prochazka returns to try to regain his light heavyweight championship that he never lost, where he faces a former training partner of a guy that he's beaten in Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira, who's the former middleweight champion, won the belt in the year, beat Israel Adesanya. Yeah, so that's a lot, but it is a great fight. This is a fight that was talked about from the start, from the get-go, because everyone knew going into Alex Pereira's heavyweight career, his middleweight career, everyone knew this guy's going to have a tough time making 185. So everyone was always like, him and Jiri, that'd be a fun fight to have. Just two guys that have haymakers for hands and can go to war. So I can't say I don't even know who the favorite is. I haven't even looked at the lines. Okay, so there's no official odds on UFC.com. I could go get some, but this fight is just it has a great storyline to it. Obviously, like Jiri beat Glover Teixeira where he was about to lose a decision at UFC 275, pretty not easily, but it was definitely fight of the year, and it was a great fight. And obviously, Jiri pulled off that submission in the fifth round with like 30 seconds to go, which was absolutely insane. So, and it just makes it all better that Alex Pereira's main guy in his life is Glover Teixeira. I mean, that is his main guy that helps him with everything MMA. They live together in Connecticut. Glover owns a gym. That's Alex Pereira's gym that he reigns from. So, it's just got a perfect storyline. So, also, another thing is, you have Jamal Hill in the background, who obviously he's going through an injury, which sucks because, man, he put on a great performance against Glover Teixeira as well. So it almost made you think like, damn, if we do Jiri and Jamal, how's that going to go? Because Jiri struggled with him. Jamal didn't. So obviously Glover versus Jiri 2 was going to happen at 282, but we didn't get that. We got Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev that went to a draw. And then that put the Jamal Hill Glover Teixeira fight. So the light heavyweight division has been through a lot. It's been through a lot of bad days since the John Jones leaving. Obviously, you had Dominic Reyes almost beat Jones, which a lot of people would argue he did beat Jones. And I don't know. That's just how it goes. But then Jan Blachowicz wins the belt, beats Dominic Reyes. And then Jan Blachowicz beats Izzy. And then he loses to Glover. And then that's how you got Glover and Jiri. But this light heavyweight division has been all over the place for so long. And yet we still can't seem to find a guy, but it's just due to injury, and that's just the worst way possible to not have a guy in a division due to Jamal Hill and Jiri Prochazka both being injured with terrible injuries. So for this fight, I'm going to favor Jiri just because I feel like he's a better overall MMA fighter. Now that might not be what everyone else thinks because obviously Alex Pereira is an absolute beast. I mean, how he ever made 185, I have no idea. The dude's a beast. He beat Izzy. Obviously lost to Izzy too. But, man, it's going to be a great fight. That's a great night of fights, man. That really is a great night of fights. Yeah, so I'm as of right now, I'm going to have to favor Jiri Prochazka. Obviously, it's weird because he's been off, and obviously Alex Pereira's been fighting. But sometimes you can almost say that this guy's been fighting too much, and then sometimes it's like, well, this guy hasn't fought enough. So it's a weird deal, You think for example, like TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling at 280, you could say, hey, TJ hasn't fought enough, Aljo's fought too much. So sometimes that plays into a factor. I don't know if that's going to play into here. We'll know more, obviously, a couple weeks away. So, but 295, man, great card. That even if the rest of the card isn't the greatest thing you've ever seen, the co-main and main event is insane. I mean, $800 for a ticket right now is what it's going for. So, great card. The UFC really worked to get this end of the year right. So, let's get into those next fights where we have Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. If I was a betting man, I don't know what I would go. I think the lines will, obviously, I think Leon will be the favorite. Colby will be the underdog. Here's the thing, and a lot of people think this. And that is Colby Covington's wrestling will work better with Leon than Kamaru's wrestling did with Leon. And you might be like, well, how does that work? And no one can really explain it. No one can. And it's weird. But for some reason, Colby just has always struggled with Kamaru. He can't get him down. He did get him down that one time, and DC will argue that all the time. But yet he could never get Kamaru down. But for some reason, a lot of people out there think that his wrestling and his cardio is really going to be a problem for Leon Edwards. Personally, as of right now, I am picking Leon Edwards to win that fight simply off the fact that his takedown defense was pretty good against Kamaru. Now, you got to remember, in that fight at 286, Leon lost a point due to grabbing the fence and trying not to get taken down by Kamaru. So that made that fight's scorecards a whole lot different than it actually was. That fight really wasn't that close. Leon Edwards dominated that fight in reality. But you got to think, I don't know. It's a weird one. Obviously, we haven't seen Colby in over a year, and by the time the fight comes around, it's going to be almost a year and 9 months since he's been seen. And to be honest, he really hasn't fought much since the first Kamaru fight. I mean, that he's fought 3 times since the first Kamaru fight. So if you count that one, 4 times, and that was in 2019 at 245. So he's fighting at 296, and he's fought Masvidal, Usman, Woodley, Usman, and that's it. So I don't know. Obviously, the UFC is going to give him a little bit of brownie points because he weighed in at 286 as the backup. But at the same time, Bilal Muhammad, as much as people hate him, he kind of deserves a shot, but he is next in line regardless of how this fight goes. If this fight's a dog war, does not matter. Bilal Muhammad is the next guy, and he looks pretty good after that Gilbert fight. Obviously, Gilbert was hurt at 288, but still, he looked pretty damn good, and he's been pretty good. We should just have him fight Michael Chiesa, because if you fight Michael Chiesa and win, and then you're going to lose next. It's just how it goes. Sean Brady, Kevin Holland, I can go on and on. But yeah, I'm going to favor Leon, and as of right now, I'm going to feel like Leon is the winner. As much as I want Colby to win, obviously I have Colby right there with Jorge, OZ Arts, great art. But yeah, I think Leon's the favorite, but I'm going to be rooting for Colby. You know, I won't be mad if Leon wins just because I feel like Leon is a great champion. I'm glad that they got this fight finalized because obviously there was rumors going around that John Jones did not want to share a card with Colby Covington, which it makes sense, let's be honest. All right, now let's go to the last one that Dana White announced for 296, and that is the co-main where we get 2 title fights, which is just great job by the UFC. And then we have the last fight that Dana White announced for UFC 296, another championship fight, co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. Royval is off of a win over Matthias Nikolai, and it was a phenomenal win, by the way. I mean, he landed a perfect knee. He's on a big win streak right now, and obviously you could be like, yeah, he lost to this guy, but I mean, the guy is good. Brandon Royval is a very, very good fighter. He did lose to Pantoja by submission, but I feel like sometimes like the Apex was just not a great place to be. Like I feel like for the fighters, they really rely on the fans, you know? And I feel like that is a big boost in a place where you are fighting, you know, for your life. I mean, you're fighting for your family, and these people are cheering you on, and you're at the Apex, and there's 25 people standing in there, and all of them work for the UFC, and they're all just quiet, and they're just watching you fight. And it's almost like, some of them were like, it was almost like a spar. Like sometimes, like I was in there, and like, it just didn't feel right. There was nothing there. So I feel like the Apex definitely handed some people some losses that could have been wins had it been in an arena. And there's definitely some fights that get booked in the Apex. And you're like, how stupid are you to book that in the Apex? Rafael Fiziev and Matus Gamrot this weekend. Why is that in the Apex? Bryce Mitchell, Danny Ige. Why is that in the Apex? That should be a fight night somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere. So I love this fight for the 125 division. It gets movement in that 125 division. Obviously, we had Figueiredo versus Moreno 4 times in a... Well, obviously, there was the Kai Kara France fight at 277. So 4 out of the last 5 title fights, technically, if you count the interim title, were Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo. And it's finally getting movement. We thought Manel Kape was going to fight Figueiredo at 290. That fell out. And then... I don't know, man. It's the movement's finally getting, or the division is finally getting movement, which you just love to see. And I don't know what you do with Brandon Moreno. I don't know if I don't know, because you can't do Kai Kara France because Kai Kara France is 0-2 against Moreno, and that just doesn't make sense because I feel like Kai Kara France needs to fight Manel Kape. And I guess if you're the UFC, you just do Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. As much as everyone thinks that Amir Albazi did not beat Kai Kara-France, which I think about 75 to 90% of fans think that Kai Kara-France beat Amir Albazi. Besides that, I think that's probably the fight to make for the next fight. Because let's be honest, Brandon Moreno and Pantoja at 290 was an amazing fight that you didn't know what it. You thought probably it's going to Pantoja, but at the same time, it was not that. It was not a far fight. That fight was as close as can be. So, who knows? I just love the movement for the 125 division. That's what they needed. And yeah, these are big for the UFC, man. So, thank you guys for watching the video. Comment down below who you think are going to win these fights, and thank you for watching.